Hello, everyone. Welcome to DBL Progs for the 2017 season. As per usual, what we'll be doing is we'll start with the free agents, and then we'll go to the individual teams, see how they progressed. I do just real quick want to note, if anyone, we have several people watching. If any of you guys have questions, comments, concerns, just know it will be uploaded to YouTube later. And with that, I think we are on. So here it is. I'm just going to real quick. If somebody wants to do me a favor and message Damien, I think he's also on. See if he wants to join. But with that, we will start with Atlanta. So first, we'll take a look at the predominant free agents. See if there's anyone that hits 60 or anything good. So Johnny Flynn had a good progs. He's actually going to be pretty solid. Amir Johnson had okay progs, and he didn't go down. Both of them being pretty nice additions. Solomon Hill, he's probably going to get a pretty big payday this season because he's fairly young. He's the youngest of the guys that are over 56. Tristan Thompson could also be useful to some teams. I don't know if Roddy's even going to get signed. He's injury prone as heck, and honestly, there's better point guards out there. We have a UDFA out there who is surprisingly good. And another UDFA? Oh, he went in the second round. To Boston, ironically. But RJ Hunter might get used this season. We have Ramen joining right now. All right. Jerry and Grant had a good prog. These guys are all RFAs though, so they'll probably all go back to their original teams. Sullinger, Blair, and all of them had pretty good seasons. Napier, pretty good progs. Dang is probably the biggest loser here. Dang and Gibson. They really got hit by progs. Andre Daniels got basically eliminated by progs, and Ilyasova went down. Peyton Siva produces way above his overall, but I don't know if he'll find a job here. Now, let's see if there's anyone that hit 60. Yeah, so Juan Pablo Valu, who has his rights? Dallas has his rights. Yeah, if I'm Dallas, I'm yeeting that real quick. He's a 44.62. He's definitely worthy of being on a roster, and they have his RFA rights. He's either going to get a big contract or a long contract. All right. So with that, we will start with Atlanta. So CP3 got murdered. He's no longer in quality. TJ McConnell didn't go down, but you don't want to see a guy like him not progging up. Torin Prince, though, he's solid. He's going to be really good for them. High performer. He's the type of guy you really want on your team because he's a two-way player. Josh Richardson also going up. He's pretty good with threes and such, so I think he could have a fairly big role. That's a really weird prog from, I can't pronounce his name, but Chinu Unaku, because his pot went down, but he had a great prog. He's like legitimately one of the best contracts in the league for this season. Looking at their bench, Thomas Bryant had a great season, or a great prog here. Ojale had a good prog. We're actually real quick. I'm going to go to tools, multi-team mode, and I'm going to auto sort roster and reset playing times. That'll probably make it a little easier to go through each team. Honestly, they're in a rebuilding stage, but this wasn't a bad offseason. We have to check and see how their man is doing. So we're real quick going to type in Steve. He is a 30 overall. All right. And with that, we'll go on to the next team here. Austin. Blake Griffin, he's going to be great for them this season. Giannis, not looking like he's going to be worth that deal. Serge also might not be the best contract. It's going to be interesting to see how they do the next couple seasons. But the real story is Darren Williams is having his in real life fall off. That's crazy. OG didn't lose pop but prog down. I'm a little surprised there. But this team has a lot of really, really overpaid players, and they might be in some serious trouble the next two seasons. I think they're definitely a playoff team, especially if they can find a point guard. But yeah, not really what you want to see there. Next up, we got Brooklyn. All right, so they have 8 players on their roster, but Donovan Mitchell is probably a superstar. That is basically what you wanted to see. They can tank for another couple seasons, add some more depth, but they got their man. They even got a nice pick and roll tandem here. If you're Brooklyn, which I think Brooklyn's in chat, they are happy. Yeah. I mean, this was basically what you wanted in Progs. Like, they're not going to be a contender this year, but they have a very clearly defined future. Like, they have probably the most easy to define future of any team. Like, I'm just guessing here, but they have their future power forward and their future center. They can lock Looney up to a long-term contract this season. They'll have an average age of 23 next year with two guys who could be literally all-stars. I mean, Mitchell might be a rookie all-star. All right. Next up is Charlotte. Um,
Charlotte.
this was not horrible. I don't know. I guess I'd be upset if I was them, but I really don't know. Kaminsky, Kid Gilchrist, and Kemba all went down, but John Jenkins and Gallo went up, and they might have one of the better starting lineups in the league. They're a 67 rating. They're probably going to be the second, third, or fourth team in the East. TJ Leaf looks like he's going to have the value that they lost in Frank. I'm curious what Didi's thinking here.
They look good.
Oh, Didi, hi.
Let's get AJ Wood.
What's up? All right, so here we're going to look at Contavious. I remember just 2 seasons ago, he was hyped. Yeah, he was a 56-69. Look how the mighty have fallen. All right. Now we will take a look at, as I accidentally click on a Discord message. Chicago, wow. So Chicago bribed the Prague gods. Chicago here. Zem process here. Chris Dunn progging good. Tadosic, Lynn, Ferguson looks like he's going to be great. Wall going up, massive up for Dorsey. Granted, they might have wasted a ton of cap space with Brandon Paul, Kobe, and Amari probably worth cutting at this point. Maybe even Amnesty Paul. I don't know what you do there. That's a weird contract. But if you're this team, I mean, the guys that are going to make up your roster long term had such great progs, and Wall even going up is really great. I mean, he's on a fairly reasonable contract for this season, and you don't need point guard. You have 3 point guards in your starting lineup. You can move Wall, and you can probably get a first for him at the trade deadline here. So, all right. Next up, Cleveland. Nerlens Noel becomes a superstar, but Lance Stevenson sold his soul to get them there. Isaiah Austin looks like he's not going to reach his potential, and declining performance from Rondo and Crowder. They had some good progs on their deep bench, but for a team that's fairly cap-strapped, this isn't a great offseason by any means for them. Yeah, Noel is going to be great this season, so they have a really great duo, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to really carry them to a top 2 seed, especially if they have an injury to any of their big 3. Honestly, I think the Bobcats have a better roster than them. Now on to Dallas. All right, this is a tricky thing. So Exum died right after they gave him a massive 1-year deal, but they have his instant replacement in Rozier, a true starting center. Malik Monk has a ton of value. Collins has a ton of value. Linden probably has a ton of value there. But DeJounte Murray's value is gone, and their deep prospects didn't prog great. And Durant might be an amnesty candidate. That is a horrid contract for the next 2 years. I don't know if they'll be able to even move it. It's absolutely horrible. So a mixed bag for Dallas. I think they'd actually be kind of happy with these progs, but we'll see. And next up is Denver. So they brought in McRoberts at the end of free agency. But these are not the greatest progs ever. Tim Hardaway, Connolly, both going down. Cat did go up, which is good. And Anthony Davis, I think, is the highest rated player in DBL history, but we saw how that went last season. Last season, he was pretty highly rated, and he produced literally worse than the year before across the board in more minutes per game. His field goal percentage dropped dramatically. So we'll see what's going on with Anthony Davis. But they really need to add depth ASAP, though I think they could be a decent team in the West. All right. Next up, Detroit. They have a little bit of a cap problem. They're $2 million over. They're always having cap issues. Their starting lineup is paid a ridiculous amount. Off the bench, McRae, Grant getting a ton here. Eric Gordon does not have a good contract. He might be another guy that could be an amnesty candidate. As weird as that sounds, after carrying them to the playoffs just 2 seasons ago, he's gone really far down really quickly. They lost James Harden in the offseason. They're no longer as heavy at guard as they were. They're more of a traditional team now, and they really don't have a great backup center. Their backup center is Yusuf Nurkic. Lucas Nagori is probably going to be logging big minutes, and assuming he stays healthy, they're a playoff team. But how far in the playoffs they go, that remains to be seen. Next up is Golden State. All right, so let's take a look here. Alfred Payton didn't hit his superstar status, but Holmes will be solid. Cancer going down is not great for them. Glenn Rice progged up to be a decent role player for them. I don't know. If I'm Golden State, I'm a little disappointed. They're just more of the same. They'll probably be a playoff team, probably between the 4th and 6th seed. They'll probably get knocked down in the first or second round of the playoffs, and they're really just stagnating. They need to make a big move. They do have a great contract in Mick Kick off the bench, so they could either move him or decide to build around him, and potentially move Payton or Holmes. They could potentially have some really great value there in a trade. All right. Next up is Houston. They have no one on their roster, but Terrence Jones progged up. I think they amnestied Bynum already. So I don't even think Bynum's supposed to be on their roster. Fleecer, you need to sign people. Your roster's got 6 people. But hey, Yao Ming is still a double-double caliber player at age 37. Yay. Wait, he played somewhere else, right? He played in Boston for a bit, right? Yeah, he played in Boston for several seasons here. I forgot about that. Did he get amnestied? Yeah, he got amnestied. Okay, I gotta assign Bynum to free agency real quick. Sorry about that, guys. He got amnestied at the end of last season, like right after the season. All right. Yep, Bynum did get amnestied. Sorry about that. There we go. Bynum is instantly going to be a courted free agent, but looking at this Houston team, they have 5 players, 3 of which are centers and 1 of which is a power forward. I wish them the best of luck in finding anything for their roster. All right, Indiana. So Favors went down, not too much movement anywhere else on the team. Sarge went up, Levine went down. Jennings going up is great, but Payne stayed the same. Jonathan Isaac progged really good and is looking great off the bench, but at the cost of Jamal Murray's progression. Tyus Jones just kind of went up a little bit, but the key here, no major regressions from the bench guys. So I think this is going to be a pretty solid season for me and them. I have a 100 team rating. I'm pretty happy with that. Not quite as good as last season, but at least my team's healthy. Thanks, Fikey. And let's see what the peanut gallery has to say on my team. Oh, no, I know who has your pick, Houston. All right. That was a wink, by the way. Next up is Los Angeles. So Oladipo continues to be one of the best contracts in the league. Derek White joins him. They are so financially stable right now with those two. They just need to and this Steve Batum, and this is a solid team. Whiteside going down is a little disappointing. They gave him a fairly large pitching contract, but overall, this isn't a bad offseason for them. Westbrook going down, Rubio going down, and Whiteside going down aren't great, but they do definitely have a lot of value in their starting lineup and can do something with it. I don't know if this is a playoff team, to be honest, though. I'll see what other people think. You guys think this is going to be a playoff team? All right. Some people saying no is what it is. All right. Next up, LA. Capella is replacing Dwight Howard as a superstar. Dwight Howard's contract expires this year. Probably happy about that. Capella is not a restricted free agent, by the way. He will be auto testing. Brandon Knight going into free agency, most likely, having had disappointing seasons. But the key here is this team's expiring money. They are going to have almost their entire cap space, and they're going to have the cheap John Hart already on their team. This has a bright future, but damn, this season is going to be really weird to watch. Yeah. Any comments on that one? All right. Move on to the next team. Memphis. I think Minnesota's next. I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it is. So Memphis had a great offseason. They had a great offseason. Yeah. This is going to be a tough year for them. Like a really tough year. Give me 1 second. I have to get someone to grab my food. 1 sec. I apologize for the delay. All right. There we go. So this is a disaster, really. All right, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. 1 moment. Bring big and chunky, and then I'll be right back. Sorry for that 10-second delay. Had to all right. So that brings us to I'll real quick recap this team. Basically all their prospects died. Even the prospect they paid $25 million for years. In their starting lineup, their biggest offseason additions died. And this is the worst Progs I've ever seen. Or not the worst, but it's pretty bad. Yeah, no other way around that. All right. Next up is Miami. Minnesota's next. All right. So Arkin Diakono is going to have value. That's really cool. I had to learn how to say his name, and I'm so happy I did. Mike Toby is going to have value. That's so weird. I don't even know who that is. Pretty sure I created him too. Check it out. Is he a second-round pick? He's definitely a second-round pick. Undrafted. Cool. Somebody I made undrafted got drafted. That's cool. Tatum might not even be a day one starter. That's a little auspicious. Shaq Harrison could be a rookie of the year candidate. And we'll go on to the team here. Hi, Fikey. Welcome, Fikey, as he joins us. It looks like we actually
have y'all already done Nuggets?
Well, we'll go back at the end here. This was not the Progs the Bucks wanted to see. They're going to be better than last year, but they have some bad contracts. Ulis is going to be a real stat patter this year, along with Henson and Barnes. but they really need to add some depth this season without hurting their contracts for the future. Minnesota. Whew, this is a mixed bag. All right. So LeBron and Jokic, their two stars, not have a good season. Josh Jackson looks like he could have been the first overall pick. Okafor is alive, in fact. Markelle Fultz had a great progs. Jaylen Brown is still doing stuff. Parker's finally doing stuff. But OJ Mayo and their key depth at guard, none of them progged positively. I don't know. If I was Minnesota, I'd be pretty happy with this, all things considered. I mean, it's unfortunate when your top two players go down, but is what it is. We'll see what Ramon's saying here. He says he's pretty damn happy. All right.
Yeah, that Brown prog though.
Yeah, they got some interesting progs there. So we'll go on to the next team. New Orleans. All right. Ricky made this pretty clear. He lives and dies by Porzingis. And you know what? It looks like he's going to live, except for the entire rest of his team that did die. This is not the situation that they want to be in. They were in a bad cap spot. They're deeper now than they were last year, for sure. But I don't know if this team is going to perform this as well as they need it to. We'll see how this season goes for them. I do have concerns, but they're a whole lot deeper than they were last season, and that might help them a bit. All right, next up here is New York. All right, this is interesting. So they might be the deepest at point guard I've ever seen. Dennis Smith, Jordan Clarkson, Michael Carter-Williams, Frank Ntilikina. They have 4 starting caliber point guards. None of them had bad progs either. Brandon Ingram looks like he could be the face of the franchise. Gordon Hayward is going to be tradable this year. They're really just a big man away from being a force, and Maker didn't have that bad an offseason, though the contract of Rudy Gay does still exist. So on to the next team, OKC. They might have a chance to do something this year. Zizic and Kyrie both progged positively. That's about it, though. Yeah, Kyrie isn't ass. So, honestly, the fact is this team is just not deep. They missed out on a big potential chance to get deep. Yeah. Orlando is up. This is what Orlando wanted to see. I mean, clearly, their veterans went down, but their young core, their playoff core of Harris, Lamb, Birch, all had okay progs. Their young guys, Wiggins isn't a bust anymore. Vucevic could be great this season. Moutier, he looks great. But their vets died, so they're probably not going to be a deep playoff team, but if I'm them, I'm thrilled with these progs. I mean, the future is bright for them. They got cap space, they're golden. Next up is the 76ers. Burks did go down. He was supposed to be the face of the franchise. But Vishu knows what he's doing. He's probably pretty happy here with Fox, Healed, Korkmaz all looking pretty great. They have the contract of Carmelo, which isn't too bad. D'Lo did go down, but they got some good progs from other guards, and I don't know if they need him anymore. Even Papagiannis prog good. This is a pretty good situation for them. All right. And with that, we go on to the next team here. Phoenix. Rodney Hood, Miles Turner, Royce Neal, all progging great. Kevin Love, not so much. This is probably going to be a borderline playoff team, if I'm being honest. I don't know how great, but it could be okay. They really don't have a true point guard in their starting lineup, and they probably need to acquire one. But I'm not too concerned about this team long term. I mean, they have 3 starters under 27 that are looking like potential all-stars, so yeah, for them. Next up is Portland. Oh boy, welcome to the finals, Portland. You've entered championship territory. Wow, look at this starting lineup, all progging great. Look at this bench, all progging great. I mean, their worst prog was from Anthony Bennett.
Can I get those progs?
I wish everyone had these progs. I mean, this team is making a deep run.
I wish Houston had those progs.
Wow. All right. Okay, this looks like it's the complete opposite of their team. Looks like the bench guys probably even better than the starters.
That's
They lost a lot in their starting lineup, but frankly, Boogie's been a force. Surrounding him with James Harden and now a significantly improved bench, that can only go one way, and that's up. I mean, this team could definitely be a solid playoff team. I wonder what their team rating is, 55. Probably a solid playoff team. Do have to make some cuts, but I don't think they're in too bad a spot. Unfortunately, I don't think Pascal Siakam is going to be doing too much in this league. And we'll go on to the next team here, which is San Antonio. This is a rough offseason. Ben Simmons went down. They traded, I think, they drafted Bam and they traded their pick for Derrick Jones, and that's looking like a good trade, but Bam not so much. This team has a lot of untapped potential on it, but another year on Duncan and Parker is just unfortunate. Next up is one second. Unfortunately, somebody, not going to name names, has made the decision to spam my Discord notifications. Luke. All right. That brings us to Jonas, Valanciunas, and Toronto. These are some good progs. This is probably a contender in the East. Lillard, Ross, Butler, all becoming really lower caliber stars. They definitely have now a true quality starting lineup. Even McLemore and Shabazz, but they really are lacking a bit of a power forward. But with Jonas, I don't know if you really need that. And Lyle's prog good off the bench, so we'll see how that goes. Super Mario went down, but no, not too bad. If I'm Toronto, I'm pretty happy with that. I think Big and Chunky is here. Yeah. Utah. So Utah, they have a lot of cap space and had pretty good offseason. Harris, Pierre Jackson, Oubre, Nwaba, all progging good. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. They've been in a pretty rough spot the last 2 seasons. I think 3 different GMs. So, all right. Next up is Washington, the last team. This is a mixed bag. Not going to say it's anything else. Steph Curry might not be very useful for the next 2 years, but Joel Embiid is probably going to be a future megastar. And DeMar is looking like he could be a borderline all-star once again. All right. With that, we've taken a look at the league. We'll take a quick look at power rankings here. Give me 1 second to do that.
Nuggets.
We'll do that in a sec, Fikey. All right.
Okay.
So Indiana, number 1, Portland, number 2, Toronto, Cleveland in the East, then Minnesota and Denver in the West. Overall, I think it's pretty interesting. I think the playoff bubble, in my book, kind of ends here in the East and honestly here in the West. Everything down from there is in a rebuilding stage. There's a few teams that need to add players or will be auto-assigned some really controversial players. Anyway, with that, we will end the recording. Give me 1 second.